On a rainy afternoon, Henry Adams, a war veteran, watches life go by from a cafe window, burdened by memories that keep him trapped in the past. He's lived a lonely, reclusive life, weighed down by loss and isolation. But today, something changes. A young nurse named Mia walks into the cafe, bringing a spark of light that cuts through Henry's gloom. She seems like a stranger, but there's something in her eyes that stirs a deep, unsettling feeling in him. Like he knows her from a distant, painful part of his past. Mia approaches, and an unexpected connection starts to form. But as their lives begin to intertwine, old secrets start to surface. Henry senses that the answers to his deepest struggles might be closer than he ever imagined, while Mia grapples with the missing pieces of her own story. Who is this young woman who awakens long-buried emotions in him? And what truly links them together? What seemed like a simple encounter turns into a profound mystery, full of pain, revelations, and the chance at a healing Henry never thought possible. Amidst it all, what comes to light might change their lives forever. As raindrops tapped gently against the window pane, a steady rhythm that echoed the turmoil in my mind. I sat in the corner of the small cafe, cradling a lukewarm cup of coffee that had long lost its steam. The familiar scent of roasted beans filled the air, mingling with the dampness from outside. I stared blankly at the streaks of water sliding down the glass, watching as the world blurred into a watercolor painting of grays and blues. Memories of distant gunfire and the faces of comrades lost in the chaos of war flickered behind my eyelids. They haunted me, constant reminder of the price paid for freedom. Just as I was about to retreat deeper into my thoughts, the door swung open and a gust of wind accompanied by the scent of rain swept through the cafe. My gaze snapped up, and for a fleeting moment, time itself seemed to pause. She entered, a young woman with bright eyes and a vibrant smile, radiating an energy that felt almost foreign in my shadowy existence. Mia, as I would later learn her name, shook off the rain from her umbrella, droplets falling like tiny diamonds around her. I caught her eye, and in that instant, a shiver raced down my spine. There was something about her that felt achingly familiar, as if I had known her in another life. I quickly averted my gaze, feeling the weight of my scars pressing down on my shoulders. Memories of laughter, joy, and warmth were foreign to me now, replaced by the cold grip of loss. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, her voice bright and clear, breaking through the fog of my thoughts. "No, it's free," I replied, my voice gruff and rough, as if it hadn't been used in ages. I gestured toward the chair across from me, trying to appear nonchalant. Mia sat down, and I noticed the way her presence seemed to light up the dimly lit cafe. Rain continued to fall outside, but inside, a warmth began to spread through the air. Mia glanced out the window, her expression thoughtful. "Looks like we're in for quite the storm," she said, her tone light, as if she relished the idea of being cozy indoors while nature raged outside. "Yeah, it's just another day," I replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. "I've seen worse." She turned to me, curiosity piqued. "You're a tough one, aren't you? What brings you here?" I hesitated, caught off guard by the question. My past, tangled and heavy, was not something I shared lightly. "Just needed a place to think," I finally said, my eyes drifting back to the window. "This town has a way of keeping you company in solitude." "I get that," she said softly, her gaze piercing through the walls I had built. "Sometimes, we just need to find a quiet spot to sort through our thoughts." Our conversation flowed unexpectedly. Like the rain outside, Mia spoke about her life, her job as a nurse, people she cared for. Each word painted a picture of compassion and warmth, and I found myself drawn to her honesty. Yet, even as we laughed at shared jokes and exchanged stories, a nagging feeling tugged at the edges of my consciousness. Something about her felt like an echo of a distant memory, something buried deep within. I suppressed the thought, attributing it to the surreal nature of our encounter, perhaps a trick of the mind shaped by the shadows of my past. As we wrapped up our conversation, a sense of nostalgia washed over me. "It was nice talking to you," I said, struggling to maintain a casual tone. "You don't meet many people like you around here." "Likewise," she replied, her smile genuine. "It's rare to connect with someone on such a level, especially in a small town." And with that, as she rose to leave, I felt an inexplicable ache in my chest. I watched her walk away, with the rain cascading around her like a protective veil. The moment she stepped out of the cafe, an overwhelming sense of loss washed over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had known her before, that somehow she was tied to the ghost of my sister, who had faded from my life far too soon. As I gathered my things, the haunting thought lingered. Was it possible that Mia was a fragment of my past returning to me? I woke up in a hospital room, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling my nostrils as I blinked against the harsh fluorescent lights. My body felt heavy, weighed down by fatigue and pain. As I tried to sit up, a wave of dizziness washed over me, and I fell back against the pillow with a groan. Just then, the door swung open, and in walked Mia, her scrub uniform a splash of color against the clinical white walls. "Hey, you're awake," she said, her voice bright and warm. A smile spread across her face, and for a moment, the world outside that room faded away. "How are you feeling?" I hesitated, unsure how to put my mixed emotions into words. "Like I've been hit by a truck," I replied, forcing a smile. "But it's good to see you." She chuckled softly, her laughter like music in the sterile environment. "Well, I'm glad you're back with us. You took quite a tumble out there on your walk. You really need to be more careful, you know?" "Yeah, I guess I got lost in my thoughts," I admitted, rubbing the back of my neck as I recalled my solitary walks. "It's just hard to shake off the memories sometime." Mia's expression softened, and she pulled up a chair beside my bed. "You want to talk about it?" "I'm a pretty good listener," she offered, leaning in slightly, her eyes sparkling with genuine concern. I hesitated, the weight of my past pressing down on me. But there was something about her presence that made the urge to confide in her overwhelming. "I lost my sister when I was a kid," I finally said, my voice barely above a whisper. It's something that never really goes away." Mia nodded, her gaze steady. "I understand. I lost someone important too, my younger brother. We were really close, and one day he just vanished." She paused, flicker of pain crossing her face. "It's like a part of me is always searching for him." Her words struck a chord deep within me, and I felt an unexpected connection forming between us. "I often wonder what my sister would be like now." "If she were here," I said, my heart aching at the thought. "She would have been amazing. I just know it." "I think about my brother every day," Maya said softly. "I can't help but wonder if he's okay, wherever he is. It feels like there's this piece missing from who I am." She reached up, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and I couldn't help but notice the delicate silver necklace she wore, glinting subtly against her skin. As our conversation continued, I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something bizarrely familiar about Mia. It gnawed at me, the sense of déjà vu that had crept in during our first meeting. And then my gaze fell on her necklace. It was a simple pendant, but it struck me like a bolt of lightning. It was strikingly similar to the one my sister used to wear. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. That necklace you're wearing," I stammered, trying to keep my voice steady. "It looks just like something my sister had when we were kids." Mia's expression shifted, a flash of surprise flitting across her face before she masked it with a smile. "Oh, really? I've had this for a long time. It belonged to my mother. She always said it was a family heirloom." "Family heirloom?" I echoed, my pulse quickening. "Was your mother's name, by any chance?" She looked at me intently, and I could feel the tension building in the air. "My mother's name was Claire," she said cautiously, her brow furrowing slightly. A chill ran down my spine. Claire? It was a name that had been whispered in the shadows of my past, a name I hadn't thought of in years. "My mother's name was also Claire," I said, my voice trembling. "Is it possible? Could there be a connection?" Mia's breath caught in her throat, and for a moment we sat in silence, the weight of possibilities hanging heavily between us. I could see the wheels turning in her mind, the same questions swirling in both of our heads. The air around us felt charged, as if the universe was conspiring to reveal something monumental. "Maybe we should find out," suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe our stories are meant to intertwine." I nodded, a mix of hope and trepidation flooding my heart. The idea that we could be connected in such a profound way was both exhilarating and terrifying. But deep down, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't felt in years. Possibility of healing, uncovering the truth, had eluded me for so long. As I sat in the small hospital room, the sterile smell mixed with the faint scent of antiseptic filled my nostril, making me feel strangely out of place. The beeping of machines created a rhythmic backdrop that, ironically, grounded me in the present, pulling me away from the haunting memories of the past. Mia was sitting across from me, her energy vibrant even in this dull environment, her laughter like sunlight breaking through the clouds. I couldn't help but notice the way her eyes sparkled when she spoke, a light that made my heart ache with nostalgia. "Henry, have you ever thought about how strange it is that we can feel so connected to someone we just met?" she asked, her voice soft yet probing. I nodded, trying to gather my thoughts. "It's like, I feel as if I've known you forever, but I can't quite place where or when. It's unsettling." A shadow crossed her face for a brief moment, but she quickly masked it with a smile. "It's the mystery of life, right? We're all just trying to piece together the puzzle." I leaned forward, my heart racing. "What about you? You mentioned losing someone when you were younger. What happened?" Her gaze dropped to her hands, twisting the fabric of her scrubs. "It's a long story, Timama. My brother went missing when I was a child. I never really knew what happened to him, and my mom, she never talked about it." The mention of her brother sent a chill down my spine. For a moment, I could hear echoes of my own childhood, the laughter of my sister, the warmth of her presence. "What was his name?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, afraid of what her answer might reveal. "Daniel," she replied, her voice breaking slightly. "He was everything to me. I still feel his absence every day." I swallowed hard, my thoughts racing. "Daniel? It felt like a name I should know." "I lost my sister too," confessed, my chest tightening at the memory. "Her name was Emily. She disappeared when I was just a boy." Mia's eyes widened, flicker of recognition dancing across her features. "Emily? That's strange." "Why?" I asked, leaning back as uncertainty washed over me. Why did that name spark something in her? She hesitated, her fingers tapping nervously against her leg. "I don't know. Just feels like there's something more to this." I couldn't shake the feeling that our stories were intertwined somehow. "What do you mean?" Pressed, my heart racing as I searched her face for answers. "Whenever I hear stories about missing children, I think of Daniel. I wonder if there's a connection I'm missing. Maybe the universe is trying to tell me something," she said, a hint of desperation creeping into her voice. My mind raced. The pieces were slowly aligning, but the picture they formed was still obscured by shadows. "Sometimes I feel like I see her in my dreams, Mia. Like she's trying to tell me something, to guide me." Mia leaned in closer, her eyes searching mine. "What if we're meant to find each other? What if we're both looking for closure?" I nodded, feeling a surge of hope mixed with fear. "But what if the truth is more painful than we can bear?" Her expression softened, a mixture of empathy and understanding. "Then we face it together. We've both been haunted by our pasts for too long. Maybe it's time to uncover the truth." I inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of her words settle in my chest. "You're right, we deserve to know." Just then, I noticed a small silver pendant hanging from her neck, glinting under the harsh fluorescent lights. It was delicate, yet familiar. My breath caught in my throat as an overwhelming sense of recognition washed over me. "Is that?" Started, my voice trembling. "What?" she asked, her brow furrowing in confusion. "Your necklace," I stammered, pointing. "It looks just like the one Emily used to wear." Mia's hand instinctively went to her necklace, her expression shifting from confusion to realization. I found it years ago. It belonged to my mother." I felt my heart race. "But why does it look so much like hers? This can't just be a coincidence." Mia's eyes widened and a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. "I don't know, Henry, but it feels like there's something we need to uncover, something that ties us both to our pasts." The room fell silent, the weight of our revelations hanging heavily in the air. I could feel the walls closing in, constricting around us, yet I also felt a spark of something new. Flicker of hope that perhaps together we could face these ghosts that had haunted us for far too long. Determined to unravel the connection I felt with Mia, I spent the next few days buried in research, scouring every old photo, document, and memory I could find related to my sister's disappearance. Each piece of paper felt like a thread, leading me closer to a tapestry that had been woven long before I realized it existed. I needed answers, not just for myself but for Mia too. There was something in her eyes that suggested she was seeking closure just as much as I was. One afternoon, as I sat in the cramped office of the local library, an old friend from childhood, Mike, walked in. His eyes lit up when he saw me. "Henry, long time no see, man." "Mike," I replied, standing up to shake his hand. "Yeah, it's been a while. How's life treating you?" He shrugged, settling into the chair across from me. "Can't complain. Just trying to keep busy, you know. What about you?" I hesitated, considering how much to reveal. "I've been digging into some family history, trying to find out about my sister." His expression shifted, coming serious. "I remember you talking about her. I can't imagine how hard that must be." "Yeah," I said, my throat tightening. "It's been a long road. I think I'm onto something, though. I met someone who might be connected to her." "Really? Who?" he asked, leaning in. "Mia. She's a nurse at the hospital. But there's something about her. I can't shake the feeling that she might know more than she lets on," I explained, running a hand through my hair. Mike's brows knitted together. "You think she could be linked to your sister? What makes you say that?" I took a deep breath, collecting my thoughts. It's hard to explain. The way she reacts when I mention my sister's name, and there's something about her necklace, it's like I've seen it before. I just can't put my finger on it. Mike nodded slowly, as if considering my word. "You should talk to her more. Find out what you can. Sometimes, it's the things we don't say that hold the most weight." I left the library with Mike's words echoing in my mind, feeling a mix of hope and trepidation. I had to confront Mia again. But what if I was wrong? What if I opened a wound that was better left closed? That evening, I returned to the hospital, my heart pounding in my chest. As I walked down the corridor toward Mia's station, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. I found her sitting at a small desk, reviewing patient charts. She looked up and smiled when she saw me, face lighting up the otherwise sterile room. "Hey Henry, how are you feeling today?" she asked, her voice warm and inviting. "I'm okay, just came to see you," I replied, trying to keep my tone casual. "I've been thinking a lot about our conversation the other day." Mia tilted her head, curiosity sparkling in her eyes. "Oh? About what specifically?" "About your past and mine. I can't help but feel that there's more to our stories than we've shared," I said, gauging her reaction. "Like, maybe we're connected in ways we don't even realize." She sighed, a hint of tension creeping into her shoulders. "I felt that too, Henry. It's strange, isn't it? Almost like fate has brought us together for a reason." "Exactly," I pressed, feeling emboldened. "I want to know more about you, Mia. Can't shake the feeling that you might have some answers about my sister." Her expression changed, and I could see the gears turning in her mind. I've always felt like there was a piece missing from my life. Something that I couldn't quite grasp. My mother used to talk about a brother she lost, but she never gave me detail. The air around us grew thick with unspoken truths. I swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling in my chest. "What do you mean by lost? Do you know anything more?" Mia hesitated, her fingers nervously fidgeting with the necklace around her neck. "Not much, but I've always felt like there was something more to that story. Like I was meant to find out what happened, or who was truly involved." I feel my heart racing, the connection between us tightening like a noose. "Mia, what if our pasts are intertwined? What if your brother is my sister?" She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. And for a fleeting moment, it felt like the world around us paused. "You really think that could be possible?" "I don't know," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I need to find out, for both of us." Mia nodded slowly, her expression resolute. "Then let's uncover the truth together. I'm ready to face whatever comes next." And in that moment, I felt a flicker of hope. Together, we might just be able to piece together the fragments of our pasts and find the answers we both desperately needed. I sat in the dimly lit hospital room, the faint beeping of the machines creating a rhythm that matched my racing heart. Mia was sitting in the chair next to my bed, her fingers tracing the edge of a magazine, but her mind seemed far away. The soft light cast shadows across her face, highlighting the concern etched into her features. I felt a mix of emotions swirling inside me: affection for her, confusion about our connection, and an overwhelming fear of what the truth might bring. "Henry, she said softly, breaking the silence and pulling me from my thoughts. Are you okay? You've been so quiet. I turned to her, the weight of my thoughts pressing down like a lead blanket. I don't know, Mia. I keep thinking about everything we've talked about our pasts. I hesitated, searching her eyes for some reassurance. I'm scared of what I might find out. What if we uncover something that changes everything? She leaned forward, her gaze steady and sincere. I think it's better to know than to live in the dark, don't you? I've spent so long wondering about my own past, about my family. I can't imagine you want to live with that uncertainty. I wanted to agree, but the thought of discovering that the person I was beginning to care for might be tied to my sister's disappearance was daunting. What if the truth is too painful? What if it tears us apart? Mia reached out, placing her hand over mine. Henry, I don't want to lose you, but I also don't want to hide from the truth. Whatever it is, we'll face it together. Her touch sent a shiver through me, a reminder of the connection we shared, but the fear still loomed large. What if I find out you're someone I shouldn't have feelings for? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. She exhaled slowly, her expression softening. You can't control who you care about, and I care about you, Henry. That doesn't change, no matter what we discover. Do you really believe that? I pressed, the uncertainty gnawing at my inside. Yes, she replied firmly, squeezing my hand. I believe that we can navigate through this, whatever this is, but you have to be honest with yourself and with me. We can't keep dancing around this. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her words settle in. You're right. I've been holding back, afraid of what it all means. I don't want to lose this connection we've built. Mia's eyes softened, and I could see the understanding in them. Then let's dig deeper together. I'm not going anywhere. We can uncover the truth, and maybe it will bring us closer. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. What if we're not ready for what we find? I asked, my voice heavy with doubt. Then we'll deal with it, she replied, her tone resolute. We'll deal with it together, I promise. Just then, the phone on the bedside table buzzed, interrupting our moment. I glanced at the screen and saw a name I hadn't thought of in years. An old family member I hadn't spoken to since I was a child. My heart raced as I answered, curiosity mingling with dread. Henry? The voice on the other end was shaky, familiar. It's Aunt Clara. I have some information about your sister. As she spoke, I could feel Mia's eyes on me, her expression a mixture of concern and encouragement. I nodded to her, trying to convey that I was ready to face whatever was coming. And it's important you know this, Aunt Clara continued, her voice trembling. There are things about our family that have been hidden, secrets that could change everything. I glanced at Mia, who was now leaning forward, her breath caught in her throat. My heart pounded in my chest as I absorbed Aunt Clara's words, the reality of what lay ahead settling in. Can you meet me? I asked, my voice steadying. Yes, we need to talk in person. It's about your sister, and it's about Mia too. I felt a chill run down my spine, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. Mia's hand was still in mine, grounding me as the pieces of our past began to shift and align. I could see the questions in her eyes, fear and hope battling for dominance. Henry? Mia whispered, her voice barely above a breath. What does this mean? I don't know yet, I replied, my voice shaking slightly. But it's time we found out. The rain had finally ceased, but the weight of my discoveries hung heavy in the air, much like the humidity that clung to my skin. I sat in the dim light of my small living room, surrounded by stacks of old photographs and documents, each piece a fragment of a puzzle that had become all-consuming. My heart raced as I flipped through the pages of my mother's old scrapbook, each yellowing page revealing more secrets than I could have anticipated. Henry, you need to take a break, I muttered to myself. The thought of stepping away felt impossible. I had to know, needed to understand the connection between Mia and my sister. With a deep breath, I picked up the phone and dialed the number of an old childhood friend, someone who might hold the key to the mystery I was unraveling. Hey Mike, it's Henry, I said when he picked up. I know it's been a while, but I need your help with something. About my sister. What's going on, man? Mike's voice was filled with concern. I hesitated, unsure of how to explain the whirlwind of emotions that had taken over my life. It's complicated. But I think Mia, the nurse at the hospital, may be connected to her disappearance somehow. I need to know more about what happened back then. There was a pause on the other end, and I could hear Mike shifting in his chair. Are you serious? You think she's connected? That's wild, Henry. I thought you were done with all that. I thought I was too, I admitted, my voice barely a whisper. But there's something about her, Mike. It's like she's a ghost from my past, and I can't shake the feeling that we're tied together in ways I don't understand. All right, let's meet up. I'll dig through my old stuff and see what I can find. But be careful, man. You don't want to go digging up old graves if you're not ready for what you might find. I hung up, my heart racing with a mix of fear and anticipation. That night, I fell into a restless sleep, plagued by dreams of Mia's smile, my sister's laughter, and a tangled web of memories that felt too distant yet too close. The next day, I returned to the hospital, my mind racing with questions. As I entered Mia's ward, I noticed her sitting at a desk, reviewing charts. The sight of her stirred something in my chest, a longing to understand the depths of our connection. Hey Mia, I called softly, and she looked up, eyes brightening as they met mine. Henry, how are you feeling? She asked, genuine concern lacing her voice. Better, I think. I wanted to talk to you about something, I said, my heart pounding. I found some old documents about my sister, and it made me wonder if you know anything about your family history. Her expression changed slightly, a flicker of unease crossing her features. What do you mean? I don't know how to explain this, but I feel like there's something between us, something tied to our pasts. I guess I'm just trying to connect the dots, I confessed. Mia's eyes darkened for a moment, and she took a deep breath. I've always felt there was something missing in my life, a piece of my history that was hidden from me. Maybe our stories are more intertwined than we think. I nodded, feeling a swell of hope mixed with apprehension. I think they are. I just need to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. As the days passed, I dove deeper into my family's past, combing through old records, letters, and anything that might shed light on my sister's disappearance. My nights were filled with sleepless hours spent in the local library, researching the fabric of our lives, but it was all a jumble of fragments that refused to come together. One evening, as I rummaged through an old box in my attic, I stumbled upon a dusty, leather-bound diary belonging to my mother. My heart raced as I opened it, pages brittle and yellowed with time. The words inside were a mixture of love, sorrow, and secrets. Secrets that had been buried for far too long. Maybe this will finally give me the answers, I whispered to myself, my hands trembling as I turned the pages. As I read further, it became clear that my mother had known more about Mia's family than she had ever let on. No, it can't be, I murmured, disbelief washing over me. I quickly grabbed my jacket and headed back to the hospital, determined to confront Mia with what I had uncovered. I needed to know if she was as much a part of this story as I feared. As I entered her ward, I could feel the tension in the air, palpable connection that was both frightening and exhilarating. Mia, I called, urgency in my voice. We need to talk. I think I found something important. Her expression shifted, and I could see the flicker of recognition and fear in her eyes. I knew then that whatever I discovered would change everything. As I sat in the small, dimly lit room of the hospital, the air felt thick with anticipation and dread. The pages of my mother's old diary crinkled under my fingertips as I held it tightly. Treasure trove of secrets waiting to be unveiled. Each word I had read echoed in my mind, revealing layers of truth I had never anticipated. I could hardly believe what I had discovered. The tangled web of connections between Mia, my sister, and my family. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I pushed the door open to Mia's room. The scent of antiseptic mixed with the faint hint of flowers from a bouquet on her bedside table, creating a sterile environment that felt foreign and yet oddly comforting. Mia looked up from her spot, face lighting up with a smile, but I could see the flicker of worry in her eyes. Hey Henry, she said, her voice soft and tentative. How are you feeling? I'm okay, I replied, my heart racing. But I need to talk to you about something important. Mia's smile faded slightly, placed by a look of concern. What is it? You look serious. I stepped closer, feeling the weight of the diary in my hand. I found some things in my mom's diary, Things about our families, about you. Her expression shifted, a mix of curiosity and apprehension. What do you mean? I took a moment, gathering my thoughts before I plunged ahead. Mia, our mothers, they knew each other. They were connected in ways I didn't understand until now. There are things in here that suggest our pasts are intertwined. I opened the diary, my fingers trembling as I pointed to the passage that had struck me most. My dear sister, I can only hope that one day the truth will come to light. The loss of both our children weighs heavily on me. I pray that they may find each other as we were never able to. Mia's eyes widened, her breath hitching in her throat. What? What does that mean? It means, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, that you might be connected to my sister. Somehow, it suggests that you are part of this story, part of my family. The silence hung between us like a fragile thread ready to snap. I could see the wheels turning in Mia's mind, the realization dawning on her. You think I'm related to your sister? I don't know for sure, I admitted, panic rising in my chest. But the clues point in that direction. Your mother mentioned a brother she lost, and my sister, she disappeared. Feels like the pieces of our lives are meant to fit together. Mia's eyes shimmered with unshed tears. Henry, that's so much to take in. I always felt there was something missing in my life, part of me that wasn't whole, but I never imagined it could be this. I stepped closer, my heart aching for her. I know it's overwhelming, but we have to face this together. We owe it to ourselves to uncover the truth. Mia nodded, wiping a tear that had escaped down her cheek. You're right. I want to know. I need to understand what happened. I placed the diary gently on her lap, our fingers brushing against each other. This is just the beginning, Mia. We have to dig deeper, explore our family's histories. There are secrets waiting to be revealed. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice trembling. What if we uncover something that changes everything? I took a deep breath, my resolve strengthening. No matter what we find, we'll face it together. We've already formed a bond that goes beyond this, can handle the truth, whatever it may be. As Mia looked into my eyes, I saw a flicker of hope amidst her fear. Okay, let's do this. Together. In that moment, I felt a sense of purpose wash over me. The journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but I knew that with Mia by my side, we could confront our pasts and unearth the buried truths that had shaped our lives. Together, we would find our way through the darkness, forging a new path illuminated by understanding and connection. Sitting side by side in the small hospital room, the weight of our recent revelations hung heavy in the air. I could see Mia's eyes glistening with tears, a mixture of pain and relief washing over her face. Can you believe it? She whispered, her voice barely audible. All this time, we were just searching for something we didn't even know we needed. I nodded, still trying to process the truth that had just unraveled between us. It's surreal, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. I never thought I would find someone who could feel so familiar, yet so distant. Mia took a shaky breath. It's like we've been living parallel lives, both missing something crucial. Her gaze flickered toward the window, where the last rays of sunlight illuminated the raindrops clinging to the glass. I always felt like a part of me was missing. It's almost like I was supposed to find you. You did, I said softly, reaching for her hand. And now that we have this connection, we can't ignore it. We sat in silence for a moment, absorbing the enormity of our shared history, our intertwined fates. Do you remember that old park we used to visit as kids? Mia suddenly asked, her eyes lighting up with a hint of nostalgia. The one with the big oak tree? Chuckled, the memory flooding back. Yeah, I remember. I used to climb that tree all the time, thought I was invincible up there. Mia smiled, a genuine smile that warmed my heart. Me too. I always wanted to reach the top, but I was too scared. I thought I might fall. Maybe we should go back there, I suggested impulsively. Face those memories together. Her expression grew serious, and I could see the weight of the past in her eyes. You think we can do that? Go back to where it all began? I think we have to, I replied, determination rising within me. We need to confront what happened. It might help us heal. She nodded slowly, and I could feel the energy shift between us. The idea of returning to that childhood park where laughter once flourished seemed daunting yet liberating. Okay, she said, a hint of resolve in her voice. Let's go. The next day, We drove to the park, the familiar landscape unfolding before us like a long-lost dream. Trees stood tall and proud, their leaves whispering secrets of the past. I parked the car, and we stepped out, the scent of damp earth and grass enveloping us. "Here it is," I said, gesturing toward the oak tree that had witnessed our childhoods. It stood as a testament to our shared history, its branches reaching high into the sky. Mia approached it first, running her fingers along the rough bark. "It's bigger than I remember," she said, awe in her voice, "but it feels just as magical." I joined her, placing my hand on the tree. "This is where I learned to take risks," I said, memories flooding back, "where I learned to fall and get back up again." "Me too," she replied, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I remember sitting here, dreaming about who I would become. It's strange to think how far we've come, and how far we still have to go." We sat at the base of the tree, ground cool beneath us, and talked for hours. We shared stories of our childhoods, our laughter mingling with the rustling leaves. Each memory unearthed connected us further, revealing pieces of ourselves we had buried for so long. "Do you think our mothers ever knew about us?" Mia asked suddenly, her tone shifting from light and contemplative. "I don't know," I admitted, "but I like to think they would have wanted us to find each other, that they would have wanted us to heal." Mia looked at me, her expression serious. "Do you think we can really heal?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her question. "I believe we can. Together." As we sat there, surrounded by the echoes of our past, I felt a sense of hope blossoming between us. The pain of our histories was still there, but so was the promise of a future built on understanding and connection. We had faced the ghosts of our past, and in doing so, we were creating something new, something that felt like family. As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the landscape, Mia and I sat on a weathered bench in the local park, where the scent of blooming flowers mingled with the crisp air. Our hearts were still heavy from the revelations we had uncovered, but a flicker of hope began to spark within me. We had spent the past few days piecing together the fragmented stories of our families, each discovery bringing us closer, not just to one another, to the truth we both had long sought. "Henry," Mia began, her voice soft yet firm, "do you think we'll ever truly understand what happened to our families? I feel like we're just scratching the surface." Her blue eyes searched mine, reflecting a mixture of determination and vulnerability. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her question. "I believe we will. Every story we uncover leads us to another piece of the puzzle. It's overwhelming sometimes." I paused, recalling the conversations we had with old friends and family members who had shared their memories with us. "But I think it's necessary. It's like we're finally giving our mothers a voice." Mia smiled gently, and I couldn't help but return the gesture. "It's strange, isn't it? How much we've learned about them through each other. I feel like I know your mother better now, and I've never even met her." I nodded, thought settling in my mind. And that's what makes this journey so profound. They're not just names in our past, they're part of us, woven into the fabric of who we are. As we spoke, an elderly man approached us, walking with a cane but with an unmistakable spark of energy in his eyes. He was someone we had met during our investigations, an old friend of our mother's who had been a witness to the intertwining of our family's lives. "Mind if I join you two?" he asked, a kind smile spreading across his face. "Of course, Mr. Thompson," I replied, gesturing to the empty space on the bench. "We were just talking about our families." The past has a way of catching up, doesn't it?" he mused, bedding down beside us. "I've been thinking about how intertwined our lives have been. Your mothers were like sisters, you know, always had each other's backs." Mia leaned forward, her interest piqued. "What do you mean?" Mr. Thompson chuckled softly. "Well, there were always whispers in our little town about a bond that went beyond friendship. They shared secrets, dreams, and even heartaches. Your mother," pointed at Mia, "she was a bright light for your family, and your mother, Henry, she was the one who always knew how to bring everyone together." "Did they ever talk about the past?" I asked, my heart racing as I anticipated more revelations. "Not much, no, but there were moments, like when they'd share a knowing glance or laugh at an inside joke. It was like they had their own language," said, his eyes twinkling with nostalgia. It's a shame the truth was buried beneath the weight of their losses. Mia's expression turned thoughtful. So, they kept their pasts hidden, even from each other? Exactly. But I think they wanted to protect you both from the pain they carried. They thought it would be easier that way, Mr. Thompson replied. But sometimes, the truth can be a balm, even when it hurts. I felt a surge of emotion at his word. We've been trying to understand their pain, to bring it to light. It's not easy, but it feels necessary. I glanced at Mia, who nodded in agreement. That's the first step, Mr. Thompson encouraged. Understand where they came from, and you'll find strength in their stories. You'll also find healing. It's a journey worth taking. As we continued to converse, the warmth of the sun began to fade, giving way to a twilight glow. I could feel the connections between us strengthening, each shared memory a thread weaving our lives together. Mr. Thompson, would you be willing to help us? There are still so many questions we have, and you seem to know so much, Mia asked, her voice filled with hope. Of course, I'd be honored to help. Your mothers deserve to be remembered, and the truth deserves to be told. Let's dig deeper, together, he replied, a sense of purpose illuminating his face. In that moment, I realized that our healing was not just about uncovering secrets. It was about embracing the love and resilience that had been forged through shared pain. Mia and I were not alone in this journey. We had each other, and now we had Mr. Thompson, bridge to our pasts and a guide toward our futures. I squeezed Mia's hand gently, feeling a surge of hope for what lay ahead. Together, we would honor our mothers and reclaim the narratives that had shaped our lives. As I stood in the dimly lit room, a weight of unspoken truths hung heavily in the air between Mia and me. We had traveled so far together, piecing together a tapestry of loss, hope, and an inexplicable connection that seemed to transcend time itself. I could see the contemplation in Mia's eyes, a storm of emotions swirling just beneath the surface. Mia, began, my voice barely above a whisper, the reason you've been searching all this time, it's not just about your past, is it? She looked at me, a mixture of vulnerability and determination etched on her face. No, Henry, it never was just about me. I needed to understand the loss that shaped my life. I thought if I could uncover the truth, I could finally find some peace. I felt a pang of empathy as I recalled my own journey through grief and isolation. I think we both understand what it means to carry that burden. I feel like pieces of ourselves are missing. She nodded, her gaze drifting as if she were reliving memories long buried. But what I didn't realize until now is that the answers were closer than I imagined. You are part of that answer. Her words struck me like a thunderbolt, igniting a fire of both fear and excitement within me. Mia, are you saying that our pasts are intertwined in ways we never even considered? Yes, he said, voice steadying, and I think that the more we uncover, the more we'll see how we're connected. Like the universe was leading us to this moment. We stood in silence for a moment, gravity of our shared discovery settling around us. I took a deep breath, feeling the air thick with unspoken possibilities. What if we did something to honor that connection? Something that brings together our histories, our families, a memorial perhaps. Mia's eyes lit up, a spark of hope igniting in her expression. That's a beautiful idea, Henry. We could create a place to remember our mothers, to celebrate who they were and what they meant to us. It would be a way of embracing our past while looking toward the future. A sense of purpose washed over me as I envisioned the memorial. We could invite our families, maybe even those who knew them. Sharing stories, laughter, tears would be healing for all of us. Mia smiled, her enthusiasm infectious. Let's do it. Let's create something that honors their lives and the bond we've forged. It's time to turn the page. The days that followed were filled with planning and anticipation. As we worked together, our connection deepened, an invisible thread weaving our lives closer. The day of the memorial arrived, and I stood before a small gathering of friends and family in a serene park, surrounded by blooming flowers and the gentle sounds of nature. Mia stood beside me, her hand intertwined with mine, a comforting presence. I glanced at her, taking in the determination etched on her face. "Are you ready?" I asked, my voice steady but laced with emotion. She squeezed my hand, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "More than ever." As we stepped forward to address those gathered, I felt the weight of our shared history pressing on my chest. "Thank you all for being here to honor our mothers," I began, my voice steadying as I glanced at Mia. "Today, we celebrate their lives and acknowledge the love that binds us all together. They may no longer be with us, but their spirits live on through the connections we've forged in their absence." Mia took a deep breath, her voice ringing clear. Our mothers experienced pain and loss, just as we have. But through this journey, we've discovered something remarkable. The strength of family, even when it's not defined by blood. We found each other, and in doing so, we found hope. Tears flowed freely now, but they were tears of release, healing. As we shared our stories, laughter intertwined with sorrow, we created a tapestry of memories that honored our pasts while embracing our future. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the gathering, I looked at Mia and saw the reflection of my own heart. "We did it," I whispered, my voice filled with awe. "Yes, we did," she replied softly, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We've created something beautiful, haven't we?" I nodded, feeling a sense of peace I hadn't known before. In that moment, surrounded by love and understanding, I realized that we had forged a new definition of family. One that was built not just on the pain of our pasts, but on the resilience and hope we had discovered together. As we stood side by side, I knew we were ready to face whatever the future held. Hand in hand. You love mysteries and secrets, you're going to want to see what's next. Imagine this. Ethan, a reclusive billionaire, tests his new maid Clara's honesty by leaving the family safe wide open. But what starts as a simple test quickly turns into a web of revelations that could change everything. Clara, with a past tied to the Parker family, finds something inside the safe that will shake their worlds. Want to know what she discovered and how it will impact everyone? Click on the video popping up on your screen to dive into this story, filled with twists and secrets from the very beginning.